What do you want to talk about?
Well, first, let's welcome our lovely viewers, all one of you. We thank you all for your support, and hopefully we will grow you by 100% and get to 2.
Or maybe 90% because nobody's 100.
That's very, very true. There's a lot of interesting things going on right now. Did you see the latest Cox study that came out?
No, I didn't.
Dealership service.
You emailed it to me.
I did.
But all the emails you sent me, they probably ended up in trash.
That seems to happen to most of my emails, no matter who they go to. So for the first time ever, customers now prefer independent repair shops over dealership service departments.
Really? Wow. So the pendulum has fully swung to the other side.
Yep, all the years that we've been out there, whether in the stores or as coaches or consultants, and preaching that, hey, look, you're losing 40% to the aftermarket, you're losing 43% to the aftermarket. It has now turned full swing that now the aftermarket is the majority.
Yeah. Well, and especially having worked on that so hard, I know we have personally, but the manufacturers invested so heavily, but most importantly, the stores have invested so heavily to build that piece of the business.
Yeah.
Where are we? I would say failing in the retail automotive business to maintain those customers.
Yeah.
With all the investment, the quick lanes and
And it's funny you say the word investment, and that is one of the things that I see a lack of at the dealership level is really investing in their people. When you, again, think about if you show up and maybe you're working on an OEM contract or you've been brought in by another contracting firm or something. You show up at a store and it's a paid-for program and these guys don't want you there and, my guys don't need training. And the one question I've always asked is, okay, so you do a lot for them? Well, no, they're always busy. They don't have time for training. Well, when was the last time you sent them out somewhere? When was the last time you paid and invested some money in their development?
Yeah.
And crickets.
Yeah, the human asset.
Yeah.
With all the investment in the facilities and trying to capture more of that market on the immediate services, but also the retention on the major repairs and both spectrums is investing in the people that, and I think it's safe to say this, is that switch is because of perception of the dealership.
Yeah.
And then the guy down the street that's local, and there's a perception that's actually driving that, the perception of, well, why do I want to go here instead of go to my local dealer?
Yeah.
And it's people that change that perception. It really is people.
It really is, and that's what we've got to remember. And that's what we've got to bring back to our customers. And it's got to start at the very beginning. Kind of how the fun role play you and I were doing yesterday.
Yeah.
About the service walk.
Yeah.
Really getting everything settled up front. Getting everybody introduced. And okay, this is where you come. This is where and I'd be interested to dig into that study and see what some of the sub headers were.
So really with that customer that is buying a car from us, starting that process right now or starting to overcome those perceptions of once they leave, why they may choose to go somewhere else and not taking advantage of that moment to genuinely build the relationship and freely discuss the perceptions the customer might have and start to overcome them in that moment, that powerful moment of the sales process and the relationship building, and most importantly, the delivery.
Yeah.
It seems like we work really hard on reinforcing that delivery experience for sales consultants to remember this is the biggest opportunity around a lot of opportunities that are going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
And that being one of them.
Yeah. And that's where you're starting to look at some of these numbers. And again, why I want to dig into that study a little more, because the numbers could be skewed.
Yeah.
We are closing out the year 2023. Now, in service cycles, we know that whatever kind of a sales year the sales department had 2 to 3 years ago is going to be what our volume looks like on the service drive 2 to 3 years later. What was happening 2 to 3 years ago?
Yeah.
There was a big shortage of vehicles. We were going through COVID. So that number could be skewed by the fact that people were holding on to their cars longer because there weren't a lot of new cars around. It could be skewed by the point of new vehicles coming around now, so people are jumping back in, but they still have some older cars. And depending on, where they take older cars, a lot of that defection happens once the warranty period's up.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are some older cars on the road, that could be leading that shift toward independent repair shops.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'd just be curious to look at all the data, what year of cars, was it 1 to 7
But
years?
even to linger on that
3 year?
point is once, that's such an interesting piece, is once the warranty period is up, why are we losing that relationship on things that are even simpler?
Yeah.
And more about the local dealer. Why do we as customers sometimes have this perception, well, the warranty's up, it's now time to get my oil changed, my battery, and my brakes, and my tires at the private shop just down the street, when the dealer nowadays is really just down the street too.
Yeah.
What is it that's really diving into? What is it that's creating that? Oh, the warranty's up, time to go to Bob's down the street.
Yeah.
Because. And what is the because? Because just going to throw it out there, but because we trust him more.
Well, like you said earlier, it's perception.
Yeah.
Everyone's, the perception is the guy down the street's cheaper.
Yeah.
No, he's just selling you a different part that is less expensive.
Right.
Maybe his labor rate isn't as low because he only has himself to worry about, whereas his dealership has 37 techs and 9 riders and a bunch of salespeople and a huge facility to keep the lights on and run the electricity. There's a huge difference in what you're looking at as far as what goes on behind the scenes that comes up with that rate.
And it's interesting because when you take the time, and I don't think us as dealers oftentimes take the time to really make that correlation of what are the market conditions, even in the private shops local to our store, is that gap is closed so dramatically. We as dealers have become much more competitive, much more aggressive on the real numbers. You do this exercise a lot, and I've had a chance to participate in it quite a bit, but when you really sit down, oftentimes even the service team is surprised at how competitive we really are, but not getting the word out there or marketing it or setting the tone.
Yeah. And that's, and there was a while, I think, probably 2015-ish, when a lot of dealerships were using IntelliCheck and posting, had the TVs up above the service drive that compared, the 3 local guys versus their numbers. And they were doing that for a while, and I don't know why it's gone away. It was a good thing for them to show and say, hey, look, we're not far off, if not cheaper than these guys. Because, again, we do, dealerships do the volume. And what people don't understand, again, going back to perception, people don't understand how much of a higher standard dealerships are actually held to as opposed to private repair shops. Private repair shops only have to answer to the BAR. Dealerships, they've got to answer to the BAR, to their district manager, to their regional manager, to corporate. They've got to answer, and if they're part of a dealer group or a dealer family, there's more that they have to answer to.
So in the stores that you work with that are actually doing a very good job of maintaining those customers and are very aggressive, what are some of the tactics and the skills, or even right down to training? You said lack of training.
Yeah.
What are some of the training strategies that they've implemented that ultimately manifests itself in just keeping our customers when the warranty period is up?
I mean, it really comes down to, I think, what you were saying about brand recognition. And what's the 74%?
Treatment.
It's treatment. It's when a
and to back up just a little bit in this moment is a very simple statistic that is so accurate, both from a data perspective, but a reasonable perspective or a common sense perspective, is the brand itself, the overall brand, the logo that is on the pylon in all these stores, right down to the name of the store itself, or the family that owns it, or the group that owns it. All of that, the greatest impact on the perception of that brand through surveys and data, and it comes down to we as customers saying, it's all about the treatment that I received, right? Facilities matter, location matters. There's a lot of things that matter so much that we're heavily invested in, but we continue to lose sight of or don't pay attention to that ultimately a customer's perception of the overall brand and the local dealer's brand, it is made up in that word called treatment.
Yeah. Defined
as treatment.
And that's what people remember. It's, you can joke about the surveys or different little things, but we go in and hone in on process. And like the brilliant Chris Barbish said, as we're out there trying to solve emotional problems with rational processes. A customer doesn't remember, if you took every single step of the service process, a process they don't even know about. What they remember is how you treated them.
Right.
And I look at my own experience, I love going to my Ford store. I love taking my F-150 in and seeing Jose every 6 months. And why? Because he treats me well.
We did an exercise that reinforcing the power of word of mouth, right? Yeah. Or just word of mouth. In the old days, it was word of mouth. It might have been the church or the baseball, softball team, or the gathering with friends. It was word of mouth.
Yeah.
And it's still the same today. It's just the word of mouth of social media, which isn't 4 people in the next 2 or 3 days. It is 10,000 people immediately.
Yeah.
So the value and the power of word of mouth and how we can take advantage of that. So we did this. We just studied many of the social sites where these reviews are being posted, not in a survey, but in a personal response.
Yeah.
And when we did that, it became very clear that it wasn't a customer or us as customers saying, boy, when I showed up, that meet and greet, boy, they nailed it. They open-ended probes, and they went down the funnel, and never is the process described.
Yeah.
It is my view of, in my interaction with a human being that makes it into the social media post is, Mary was very friendly.
Yep.
She cared about us. She had a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
She presented well. She was enthusiastic about the brand and about the store. They're describing a behavior and an emotional state that has the greatest impact on their perception of the experience.
Yeah.
They're not describing, boy, step 6.
Oh, yeah. Did he review the multi-point inspection with me?
Right.
It's how you...
Because that's a survey question.
Exactly.
Right? Instead of the customer saying, I was blown away by them reviewing the multi-point inspection clearly and then highlighting green, yellow, red. It's not the description of the process. It's the description of the behavior and the personality that is inside the process.
Like I told you about my last time, man, when Jose came out and he goes, man, the tech said your truck is in tip-top shape. And we had to laugh about the words tip-top. But do you think he went over my multi-point inspection with me if my truck looked that good?
Right. No. And even when he did that, how did that make you feel when he complimented you?
Oh, yeah.
He's supposed to be tearing that car apart, telling you how much money you need to spend.
Yeah.
And instead, it sounds to me like he started with, he actually complimented you, told you your truck was in good shape.
Oh, yeah.
In that moment, what did you think as a customer?
Oh, yeah, that was all pride.
Uh-huh.
It's like, yeah, I do take good care of it. It's my baby.
Right.
It's going to run for hundreds of thousands of miles.
In subconsciously, I guess, if we're honest, probably created a level of trust so that what he might have followed up with was relevant because he already told you your vehicle was in good shape or gave you a sense of pride that take care of your truck, man.
Yeah. And we established a trust thing a long time ago because, a lot of these newer vehicles, you don't have to do a lot of the fluids on them for thousands and thousands of miles. And I'm going through the whole thing, and a lot of what it says, even you used to be able to go through your owner's manual and you would see, every 30,000 miles or so, or 2 years or whatever. And now all it says is inspect, 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 inspect. Even up through 100,000 miles, inspect fluid, inspect, inspect. And I'm going, because I'm digging, I'll take a look at it every now and then, and I'm like, hey man, my brake fluid's starting to get a little dirty. And he's like, the tech says you don't need it yet. I'm like, okay, I'm trusting you. Because I'm just that anal. I don't like to see my things like my brake fluid, anything other than bright yellow. That's just me. That's how I am. But
how weird though is gaining your future business by right now letting you know that it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
And the trust that's created in that, and the future business.
Yeah.
To maybe put a little bit of a ribbon around this, or a bow on it, what would be some of the recommendations that we might offer around the stores that are really doing a good job with this to realign or reposition their focus on that creates success pretty quickly? And I think you started it off really well with highlighting investing in the human capital, investing in doing some training around what we just highlighted is 74% of the perception of everything is the treatment of the customer. Realigning the emphasis on and the training on the human beings that start to build that trust. And when the manufacturer's warranty goes off, here's what it looks like, here's how competitive we are.
Yeah, and it's not just investing in training. You can, investing in your people can be more than that. It can be trying to figure out what their obstacles are from even further success. Maybe you've got a place that started out as one small dealership and then took over this huge block and kept adding bays here and there, and the bays are just here, and they never organized them. They just added them and brought people in and hired them. So you've got some diesel guys over here, some diesel guys over here, some transmission guys over here, some transmission guys over there. Everything's spread out so that like special tools aren't in one central place for all these guys. They might, so-and-so's got it over there. You got to go all the way over
so
there.
So internally, the team members that are assigned to deliver this experience with that opportunity, they're not even bought in.
Yeah.
And nobody's listening to, you use the word obstacles, nobody's really taking the time to listen to the internal team members that are the ones that can define the obstacles.
Yeah.
And Brian, as that brings me back to just about 3 weeks ago, as we were talking about this in one of our stores where it's obviously an opportunity, is to hear the internal team member say, yeah, we're working hard on this and there's a lot of money invested, but I wouldn't bring my car here because, and they were able to articulate clearly the obstacles because they see it in the frustration in that employee who wanted to go well, who says, we know what the obstacles are, but nobody's really listening to us or including us in the conversation.
Yeah, it was, and the ones that will listen and will get that done are the ones that are going to continue moving forward.
Right.
That one store was talking about everything else spread out. They're going to do a big repaving of the whole back, and when they did it, they were going to reorganize so that all the diesel guys were here and the diesel special tools are here. All the training guys are going to be over here. All the EV guys are going to be over here. Making sure that everything was at least self-contained within the different specialities, and then.
And when they get it organized, that well, you see the team members first and foremost. That'll serve the team members.
Yeah,
their jobs will be easier, more fun, more efficient, better interaction between the team members.
Oh yeah.
Which, when you play that through, that'll just demonstrate itself to the customer.
Yeah, and it goes all the way through, and and you could see in that one store that they do listen. That was a store I watched a small. Department meeting with all the service advisors and the two managers turn into a 2-hour open discussion, and everyone felt heard. All the advisors appreciated it. People came out there was a lot of honesty that came out. There were apologies. I'm sorry I haven't been doing that for you. I'm going to be better at that.
The managers were. The leaders in the store were?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was, and that's just how great this store is, and I can't wait to see how much better they do. Like, when you'll recommend a family member, and I say, my brother-in-law was having a paint issue that's kind of well known, so set it up for him to go in there. On his way in there, had a light come on. He came out of there, I think about 2 weeks later, because this was when the PDCs were shut down because of the strike. But came out of there 2 weeks later with a new rear axle. All warranty. But that's just what happened. They took care of it. And again, it's that investment, that honesty, being that open type of meeting, and by the way, that 2-hour meeting, that followed a very open 2-hour meeting with the managers and the GM. So that's that whole thing, when you talk about a store that you see problems or lack of problems from the top down, that type of systemic value that comes in there, that openness stemmed from the GM down to the directors and managers, all the way down to the service advisors and porters, that very day, 4 hours of just completely open discussion.
So were they able to shelf, as you described this, were they able to shelf the ultimate goal around the business strategy and simply focus on the team members that were participating in the business strategy?
Yeah.
The business strategy became less of a focus. It was genuinely on the people that are delivering it and how to better serve them.
Yeah.
To engage them. And that you're gonna see you're going to see some information that we're going to dissect, something that's been very valuable across many industries. And we were just chatting about it this morning, is the service profit chain, the Harvard service profit chain study that talks about, depending on the product or the industry, is organizations and leaders that make customer satisfaction secondary, good way to summarize it, make customer satisfaction secondary and employee satisfaction and employee engagement and employees designing the processes that make it easier and better for them. The more engaged they get, and the more engaged they get, it just transcends through to the customer around a relationship, around treatment.
Yeah.
You brought it up earlier, is they're able to better deliver better experience, better treatment to the customer, because the organization is focusing on them and valuing them.
Yeah, and I've always believed in that method. It's, you treat your employees like your customers. My employees are my customers. If I treat them well, they're going to treat their customers well. It's a supply chain. It's a business chain.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Service profit chain. That's the name of it. Service profit chain.
Yeah, like I was talking about leadership. You should really be a servant.
And you bring up, many people have talked about this. It's easy to bring that up and articulate the graphic that shows up around the Harvard service profit chain, but to execute it, it is a very hard thing to make that shift.
Yeah. Of
being directly focused on the customer and more directed on our employees.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to do it the right way. And I think that's why we enjoy our job so much.
Yeah.
Is breaking that down so that it's doable and it's digestible and it makes sense. And ultimately there's a financial payoff to that. But realigning your focus is a very hard thing to do. And takes good leaders, good managers, humble managers to listen to their team members.
Yeah, and unfortunately you do run into a lot of hubris out there, and that can be difficult to get over.
Yeah, and how do we know that? Because there's a lot of hubris in here. There's a lot of hubris everywhere, and I think for all of it is in the moment is the humility and paying attention. And
I think so.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a chatting around stuff that's going on. No major big solutions, but maybe a precursor to the solutions that we work together on, and we work with our team, our consulting team. We work together and collaborate, and just offer solutions and ideas and interaction and relationship to continue to address these areas.
Yeah, and that's what we do and how we do it. When the most successful or the best consultants aren't necessarily the guys who were killing it at the dealership. I was number one in the country. I was this. I was that.
Hubris.
A good consultant is someone that travels around enough and gathers all the best things of what they see and shares it around with everyone else. It's not just taking what you have canned and what you have written, and this is me, I'm the best, I did this, here's how you should do it. It's, I found a store that was very similar to yours in this part of the country. Maybe we can adopt some of these things that they were using in your dealership. There's also changes, regional changes. Like we'll be able to adopt, 70% of this one because your market's very different. It can take something from a dealership in Tennessee and then go into Southern California and say, well, these parts of the processes don't really change from dealer to dealer, so we can do these, but we're going to have to take this part out and really adapt it to a Southern California market and vice versa. So that's, to me, that's what really makes an outstanding consulting experience there.
And in specific to, Brian and I have had a chance to work in stores together and I think learn from each other. And one thing that became very apparent to me, and this may go down a negative road, but it's not negative, it's an opportunity, is the interaction with the frontline people.
Yeah.
Starting with the porters, probably the heroes of the store. Everything functions around that. Oftentimes we get to work in environments that have manufacturers reps that are in the store with big assignments and big challenges, but it's a meeting with a manager in an office reviewing a lot of numbers to get everything fixed, and then it dies there.
Yeah.
In the opportunity is, and this is where we get to operate, and we've had a chance to observe each other and see, especially what I've seen you do, is roll up the sleeves, get on the front line, get in the service drive, work with the porters, build some camaraderie, have some fun, listen. And I think that's a lot of times that's what we want to model, or is sometimes from a factory perspective, is losing sight of roll up your sleeves.
Yeah.
Get in with the people that are grinding it out every single day, and in a really challenging environment with really challenging numbers in this survey process, is the greatest impact isn't necessarily in a manager's office for an hour and a half and hitting the road. It may be a full day of going grassroots, back to basics, and interacting one-on-one with the service writers, having fun, trying it yourself. There's so much opportunity there. Because I'm gonna end on my piece where you started off, is because manufacturer reps, regional reps, CEOs, the brand, at the end of the day, how they're measured ultimately comes down to 74% of their job security, their job performance is measured in the treatment of the human beings on the front line shaking hands. And I'll let you close it out after that. Because you're more of the service guy than I am.
You calling me a grease monkey? But yeah, no, I think that's really get down to the heart of it. I mean, we could probably talk about this for 24 hours and still
Because I think we have been for the last 48 hours. That's all we've been doing.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot for the last couple of days. But it's all really good, and we're going to have really good stuff coming out for everyone that needs it. So, all right, this has been a brief one. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Hope you all enjoyed us. Before we go, Lee, current new vehicle that excites you?
A lot of them. Most of them completely out of my budget. I have to say, I'm kind of a Jeep guy, old Jeep guy. Mm-hmm. I did have a chance to, a friend of mine owns a Ford dealership up in Barrington, and he let me drive. We traveled around in his driver, which is a tricked out, loaded up Bronco. I like it. It was nice.
Yeah, one of my buddies who owns a dealership, him and his brother have a dealer group out in New Mexico. He got the Bronco Raptor R. And he's like, you got to come out. It's
rough, it's tough, it's tumble. It's makes me feel like a cool dude when I was in it. Which is short lived, but it also has a luxurious feel to it. It was fun to drive. It was tough, but it had luxurious aesthetics to it that also felt really nice.
Yeah, and I do like the styling of those, and I love Jeeps. I've been into Jeeps for a long time, and still building one money pit that's money after money. But as I get older, it's like I enjoy the luxury of my truck. It's got so much space. And now when I get into a Jeep or a Bronco, and I parked my truck next to a Bronco on the street a few weeks ago and realized how much smaller it is than my pickup truck, than my F-150, and was like, wow, I don't know if I could go back to one of those as my daily driver. I got to have something big, easy to get in and out of. I'm old, I'm tall, I'm fat, I'm hurt, so.
Man, you need a hug. We're going to finish this off with a hug because he's younger than I am, he's thinner than I am, he's better looking than I am, and he just described himself that way. Boy, there's a subconscious dig there. So
come on, any competitive athlete, you know it yourself because you're one too. It's all about the body dysmorphia. You know, we're always our harshest critics, and most of the time we're joking, but there's always a little bit of truth in those jokes.
good lead into our next segment. We're going to be talking about body dysmorphia the next time we get together. So, Lee Eddy here. Thank you for your time.
Brian Carr, have yourselves a great day.
See you in the next one.